No, porque mira, yo estaba en Venezuela por 6 meses. Yo hice una video de media hora como de mi viaje. Y mira, la Venezuela que yo escuché y la Venezuela que yo vi es muy diferente.
Sí,
Entonces quería mostrar la otra cara de Venezuela. Pero obviamente es muy importante para mencionar que este video es mi experiencia, no es para representar todo el país,
exacto.
pero sí. Entonces si eres de Venezuela o no, yo creo que es muy importante para ver cómo es la realidad, cómo es su gente y su cultura. Entonces, sí, yo hice eso y es una experiencia de media hora con dos lentes. Y cuando tú vi cosas
El VR,
en VR, es muy diferente porque puedes
claro.
mover la cabeza, todo el lado, izquierda, atrás, todo. Y como siento el video.
Amigas y amigos de Movida Hispana, qué gusto saludarles. Mi nombre es Edwin Prieto Linares y el día de hoy tenemos el inmenso honor de contar en el estudio con Noa Iimura, un documentalista, una persona apasionada por grabar, por dar a conocer lugares que para muchos puede ser desconocido o que quizás solamente ven la parte hermosa de los sitios, pero esta persona que tenemos acá te muestra todo. Para ustedes, los invito a continuación a leer los subtítulos porque va a ser una entrevista completamente en inglés para poder hacer sentir más cómoda a Noa. Que Noa habla español, sí hablas
Sí, más o
español,
menos, sí, yo entendí.
lo entiendes, pero prefieres hablar en inglés, ¿correcto?
Más o menos, ¿no? Pero yo necesito aprender más, entonces sí.
Claro, claro. Pero para hacerte sentir cómodo, hablamos en inglés, así la gente practica su listening, lee los subtítulos y todo fenomenal. También estamos en vivo en la cuenta tuya de Instagram, Where is Noah. Así que el saludo a todas las personas. No veo la cámara porque estoy viendo el teléfono de Noah. Así que el saludo a todas las personas. Noah está acá en Dallas en este momento. Tiene experiencia de VR viernes, sábado, domingo. Hoy es viernes, pero el momento que estamos grabando esto, viernes 15 de noviembre. Esta entrevista en nuestro canal de YouTube, Movida Hispana TV, sale hoy mismo viernes 15, calentito, para que conozcas y puedas ir a Arepa Street en Louisville. Allí es donde va a tener la experiencia Noah viernes, sábado y domingo. Así que, ¿qué puede esperar la gente allá? Noah, vamos a hacer esta pequeña parte en español. ¿Qué puede esperar la gente del VR, de la experiencia?
No, porque mira, yo estaba en Venezuela por 6 meses. Yo hice una video de media hora como de mi viaje. Y mira, la Venezuela que yo escuché y la Venezuela que yo vi es muy diferente.
Sí,
Entonces quería mostrar la otra cara de Venezuela. Pero obviamente es muy importante para mencionar que este video es mi experiencia, no es para representar todo el país,
exacto.
pero sí. Entonces si eres de Venezuela o no, yo creo que es muy importante para ver cómo es la realidad, cómo es su gente y su cultura. Entonces, sí, yo hice eso y es una experiencia de media hora con dos lentes. Y cuando tú vi cosas
El VR,
en VR, es muy diferente porque puedes
claro.
mover la cabeza, todo el lado, izquierda, atrás, todo. Y como siento el video.
Así como pasa con tus videos de YouTube, que la gente puede estar viéndolo en cualquier dispositivo y puedes mover el dispositivo y
Ujú.
se va a mover también porque los videos en tu canal de YouTube están también en el modo 360 para que la gente lo pueda disfrutar. Así que la invitación a todos ustedes que están viendo esto en nuestro canal de YouTube y a todos ustedes que lo están viendo desde el Instagram de Noah, vayan a Arepa Street aquí en Dallas o a las siguientes ciudades donde va a estar Noah porque luego vas a estar en Nashville. Vas a estar
Sí,
también llevando la experiencia.
sí, Nashville, Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, todo Florida.
Así que, por favor,
Sí.
ya lo saben. Así que bueno, a partir de ahora comiencen a leer los subtítulos porque vamos a leer en inglés. Noah, thank you for being here. I mean, you're a filmmaker, you're a documentalist guy. But before this huge success exploded in Venezuela, you did some work in Japanese. And
Hmm.
you did a documentary named Unwritten. That it
Hmm.
was kind of big for that moment, right?
No, I mean, it was big for me personally because,
Yeah.
I basically started making documentaries when I realized that I could tell stories about people that inspired me, tell a story about these individual people. And I would basically feel fulfilled by doing that because I was able to tell someone else's story also make it for them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how, I would say the documentary side of things started.
That happened with No Escrito, with Ruben and Leslie. Those are a couple of stories for people being hard workers and how their lives changes. I don't want to do any spoiler, but they can go to your YouTube channel and they're going to see on the playlist, there's No Escrito, couple documentaries, really good. And that was your first documentary, I can tell, is mainly in Spanish. That's correct?
Yeah, because I originally made it in English, but the two people I made the films about, one of them was a custodian. He was from Mexico, and then the other one was a girl from Guatemala. So I wanted to make sure they understood what the story, what I mean, that I made. So I had, my friends translate it for me.
Oh, that's good. And then afterwards, on 2020, because of the election, you did Young Votes Runs America. That was kind of big one, right? Because you tried to focus on how important was the election at that moment for the young people to make the difference.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really made it because, at the time, everything was like left versus right. Everything was very, in your face. Everything was like a conflict. But I wanted to kind of see with my own eyes if the United States was as divided as the news kind of portrays it to be. So my friend Zen and I just ran around the country for like 3 months, just talking to young people in every state that we went to. And just kind of made, little short documentaries on the road. It was a lot of work, but, we definitely we definitely got to see it from like the street level, which is what I always try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And also from your vision, because you're from Tokyo. So you're not from like the United States at all. So it's a very different vision from some people who grew up here and everything. So that makes the difference for me at that documentary, because the young vote and Latino vote or whatever, like people not from here, makes the difference too. So that's pretty good. And also, I think if I'm not wrong, that was the last documentary you did without the 360.
Yeah, the last documentary I did before I started switching to virtual reality was, it was that series that I made, Young Votes Run America. Yeah, but I will mention that I grew up in Tokyo. I lived there until I was 16. But my dad's Japanese, my mom's American. So I grew up speaking, both, and like basically having both cultures in my family.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So basically that decision you make for start recording 360 change everything.
Yeah, I mean, I basically wanted to go travel alone. I wanted to go backpacking. And when I realized that, that's actually something I'm going to do, I wanted to also make sure that it was beyond it being a personal investment. I wanted to make sure that it was something that would also help my career as well. I wanted to explore what it's like to tell stories in virtual reality, just because usually when you make a documentary, you have to kind of explain what it's like, and show what it's like.
The context.
But in virtual reality, I can basically bring you into the actual scene itself, and then that way, it's less. You can do more of the experiencing, and I can do less of the explaining. So that was the idea anyway. So that's how I basically decided to go travel around Central and South America with a 360 camera without any plan besides just film everything.
That's great. That's really great. And some people know you, a lot of people know you because your work in Venezuela. But I think the first Hispanic country you visited was Guatemala, right?
Yeah, I mean, I first went to Belize, and then it was Guatemala. Obviously, they speak English in Belize, but
like Hispanic, like people
Latin,
speaking Spanish.
Yeah,
Latin.
that was Guatemala. The first country I went to was Guatemala. Yeah.
And because the video was on October 2022, you posted, and it was what it's like to live in Flores, Guatemala. How was it?
Wow, that takes me all the way back. Flores was like the first small city that I went to on the way to Antigua in Guatemala. I don't know. I remember just kind of like sitting one day with just like a random guy. I watched sunset every day. Like one of my routines for every day is to go make sure I go watch sunset. So I was doing that in Flores, and I remember this guy came up to me and just kind of explained what it's like to live in Flores, which I thought was really interesting. And obviously I was filming everything in virtual reality that day too. So I remember shooting like a little scene with him. I just remember the most interesting thing he said to me and kind of gave me a lot of perspective was that eating food at Burger King and like fast food, like American chains, is like a luxury. it's more expensive
That's
to eat
correct.
fast food
Yes.
than it is to eat local food. And that was the first time I kind of like really thought about it. 'Cause I was like, oh wow, that was really interesting.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And also, you make a video. The name is "Solo Travel Lonely," and that video you show your experience, but also on that video you show that you got COVID on Guatemala. So you
Yeah.
got like outside from everybody because you have to be isolated because of that.
That was the second time I got COVID. And yeah, no, I remember I ended up staying in Antigua. I was in Antigua when that happened, so I remember I stayed there for like 2 months in total, just because like I first had to stay longer, and then once I stayed longer, I kind of like got used to the city, made a lot of friends there, and very comfortable place to live for a little bit.
That's good. So outside the cameras, because we went to lunch and stuff before this interview and everything, you told us that you were on Colombia. So, but you didn't record anything down there because I didn't see on your YouTube channel anything from Colombia.
No, I mean I haven't uploaded most of my travels.
Okay.
Colombia, I was there for 3 months in total. Although I will say, out of all the countries I went to, it's the countries I probably filmed the least, just because I was more focused on editing at that point.
Okay.
So I was kind of in this like one place called Palomino, Colombia for 2 months, just
Okay.
kind of like editing every day. So I was doing less filming, more editing.
Because you were editing everything you did on Guatemala, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, testing out. I was just kind of tired from like running around traveling, because I basically for the first 6 months I went to 6 different countries in Central America, so like running around a lot. And then I kind of wanted to slow it down a little, so I was like in Colombia for like 3 months, just kind of like focusing on more of the actual work instead of filming.
How about Central American food? Do you like it? It was good for you?
Yeah, I like the food in Guatemala. Really good food.
Okay.
Nicaragua is probably one of my top countries I've been to. too.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I love
nice.
Nicaragua.
That's pretty good to hear. What about Colombia? You like the food down there?
Yeah, the Colombian food is pretty good. I would say-
Chicharrón?
Yeah, no, it's good. Like it's very, I don't know, very fresh, I would say.
Yes.
Everything is like killed right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then we arrived to that place that people told you not to visit, right? That's like the main focus on your documentary. You say always, people told you not to visit. What they were saying?
I mean, it was quite simple. Everyone was like, okay, if you go to Venezuela, you're going to get robbed, you're going to get kidnapped, they're going to rob you at the airport before you even enter, like just basically everything was negative. I didn't really hear any information that was like positive. Besides one guy that lived in Palomino in Colombia, because basically every day I would go watch sunset on the beach and basically like stare out into the ocean, trying to convince myself to go to Venezuela. So one of the guys that I met on that beach was a guy named Endri. He was from Aragua,
Okay.
specifically I think Cuyagua.
Ooh,
And when I
nice.
told him, that I wanted to go to Venezuela, he was one of the few people that was like, yeah, you should go. And he said, if you do go find this guy. His name is Chuchu. He lives on the beach in Cuyagua. He's like, if you go find Chuchu in Cuyagua, he'll take care of you.
Whoa.
I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Cuyagua.
Ooh, well, you did good because Cuyagua is nice. Nice. You like it?
No, it was amazing. Like when I was in Valencia, I took a bus from Valencia to Maracay, from Maracay to Ocumare, and then
Really
from
close.
and then from Ocumare, I took a moto taxi to Cuyagua, asking basically everyone in the street, like, "Where's Chuchu? ¿Dónde está Chuchu?"
Whoa.
And
No
then-
phone,
No,
nothing. Just
no,
asking
no.
people
Yeah.
all over the place.
And then everyone would be like, "Oh, en la playa," like he's on the beach. And so like when I got to the beach, sure enough, boom, there was Chuchu. When I explained to him what I was doing, how I got here, how I know him, and he's like, "Do you have a carpa? Like, do you have chinchorro? Do you have anything?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know I needed to bring one," And he's like, "Don't worry,
I'm
don't
just
worry."
here.
Yeah, no, he goes to the back, pulls out like an old chinchorro, puts it up right on the beach between 2 palm trees, and I slept there for 5 days.
Wow. That was lovely, right? Wow. And you had a phrase on your website that is pretty cool. Don't let what you hear become what you think. I think that is because of the people say to you before, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the lesson I learned from this experience, like, going to Venezuela. It's also something that I apply to in life in general. Venezuela is not the first place that people told me not to go to. Like when I went to parts of Ghana, when I went to parts of India, like people would say the same thing. And I think a lot of the time people giving you advice have never actually been there. They've just heard about something.
Yeah.
And then they kind of pass it along to other people as if it's true / as if, it's not like they even verified information. They just kind of like pass it along. And that was kind of something that I wanted to bring attention to, and is the reason why I originally made, the documentary about Venezuela, was to kind of capture that idea.
On your experience, of course.
Exactly. I think it's very important to kind of always have like an open mind and not just let everything you hear become, first of all, the full truth, and second of all, don't pass it along without actually like, verifying if it's true or not first,
Okay, yeah. That's pretty good, because you did your take by your own. Like, okay, you're saying that, let's see if it's real or not. So you take your risk, and you made it, because it's a huge success right now. And also, you have the wonderful experience with one of the biggest events of the year on Venezuela, what is Caracas Magallanes.
Yeah.
You went to the stadium on Valencia, Jose Bernardo Perez, and you knew it on the documentary. You said the same day, like one friend of you say, hey, I got these tickets. Let's go to the baseball game. This is like a Yankees, Red Sox. You got to experience that. How was it that the first time you entered to the stadium and see the environment?
No, that day is my favorite day in Venezuela.
Oh.
Specifically the first El Clásico I went to.
Okay.
It's hard to describe the feeling you get when you're in that in that stadium. It's so much passion. Everyone is like, obviously rooting for their team. I love the fact that like you buy 2 beers, you like get 1 beer to drink and 1 to throw.
Yeah.
I just never been in an environment like that.
Yeah.
And like, the dugout comes out to like brawl every 4 innings. Like, I don't know, it was insane.
Yeah.
And I just remember just like sitting there with my friends that I just made. Like one of my friends just messaged me on Instagram. He's like, hey, like, you want to come to the baseball game? I'm like, sure, why not?
Let's go.
And he introduced me to all of his friends, and that's why I actually ended up staying in Valencia for like a month, maybe even more, a month and a half, maybe.
That's good.
But yeah,
good.
that game was insane. I remember, I think to this day, I think it went to like 12 innings. Like it kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And like, you can imagine what happens when that's going on,
Of course, yeah.
Especially with a rivalry like that.
Yeah, and the chants, I mean, boom, hit, boom, and everybody like screaming and stuff.
Yeah.
And if it's a strikeout, everybody screams, or a home run. Like,
and then you start yelling at them, Sucio.
Yeah, at the umpire, because if you're not agreeing with the umpire, you scream that a lot. But yeah, I mean, that's
so
wonderful.
funny.
You experience that, because some people don't know about that. Travel bloggers or anything, just go to the restaurants or the beach or whatever. But you showed something important on Venezuela, like baseball, because it's part of the culture on Venezuela. And specifically, Caracas Magallanes, because it's like a big-time sport event. So it's pretty nice, because some people, without any context, can tell, okay, this is really big. It's like Major League Baseball, but in South America.
No, yeah, I think it's where the most energy is. Like if I had to like think back of all my time in Venezuela, probably the day that has like the highest energy is probably that day.
That's cool. That's cool, because you were on Puerto Cabello at that moment, Patanemo, blah blah blah, like chill, and then from all of a sudden you were like boom, rushing energy and stuff in the stadium.
Yeah, no, exactly. I actually went back the second time in Valencia. It wasn't the same the second time, but like, I would love to. Like my friends called me the other day because I think the season just started again.
Yeah, the season just started.
Yeah,
yes.
so like they were like, it's coming up,
dude.
I'm like,
you gotta come.
Yeah, I need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like this phrase you did. Most of the time, you didn't understand what's going on, but you always said yes, because nothing good starts with a no.
No, I mean, it's true, like I didn't really speak Spanish when I got to Venezuela. It's like one of the first countries where really people did not speak English, because like when you're traveling through Central and South, most of Central and South America, there are tourists, there are hostels, people speak English, you're meeting other tourists.
Correct.
So like you're speaking English. But in Venezuela, there were no tourists that I really met. There were no hostels. There's none of that, like the people that spoke English either already knew it because like, they were like my friends in Valencia, for example, they spoke English. But like anyone in like the street, like when I'm traveling, they don't speak any of that. So, and then, at the end of the day, like people are still very curious though. Like you might not have the same language, but like they're still curious and, they invite you to things and I don't really know exactly what they're inviting me to. But like I mean, as long as I get like a good vibe from them, they're like, okay,
Yeah.
you're cool. Like, I'm gonna say yes. We'll see where it goes. Like,
Yeah.
but worst case, you can leave.
Yeah,
But
of
like,
course.
if you can't, if you don't say yes first,
You don't know what's gonna
yeah,
happen.
like that's an unrealized opportunity that you got to capture.
That's good. I mean, because that was the second episode. I think he was the guy looking at the camera and said "Japón," and you were like, "Yes." You didn't
Yeah.
know what he was saying, but you said yes.
No. Yeah, that was my friend Mato. He's a fisherman in Cuyagua. And yeah, I mean, first of all, fishermen in Cuyagua or in La Costa in general, like that's like otro idioma. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, they
of
don't
course.
speak the same
No.
way most people do.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I definitely did not understand what he was saying at all.
He was
And-
saying that the camera was pretty pricey,
yeah, no,
and
at
he
that
thought
moment,
that
yeah.
the camera was turning
Rotating.
around
yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah. No, I figured all that out afterwards, but like in the moment, I didn't know anything.
You
So,
were like, yes.
yeah, and I was super focused on like trying to open my coconut with my hands because he had gave me a coconut, and I was like trying to figure out how to get to the inside. So like I wasn't paying attention to him to begin with, and so when he asked me a question, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, cool, bro, cool. And then you went to Barquisimeto and you were surprised by a taxi driver. You ended eating lunch, watching the World Cup, and everything like a family you met like years and years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Barquisimeto looking for a private bus. This is before I took my first public bus in Venezuela. I was like, because people told me a lot about taking the public buses. They're like, oh, you're going to get robbed, la, 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 la. The same story every time.
Yeah, and I lived that, so of course I will told you that too.
Exactly. So like, so I was trying to take a private bus. So like, me and my taxi driver, Antonio, we'd be going from terminal to terminal trying to see if there was a bus that would take me to Mérida that was a private one. Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But, we were looking, and after like an hour and a half, 2 hours, we were like, okay, we're not going to find one. And we were both tired. And he was like, I'm going to go eat. And I'm like, we're talking about how we both wanted to watch the baseball, the World Cup. So he was like, just come to my house and watch it. I'm like, all right, sure. So like,
Let's go.
he invited me to some lunch, and we watched the game together.
That's part of said yes, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and he spoke no English. Like, these are all people that speak no English. Like, this is just, you just figure it out. Vibes.
Okay, that's pretty good. And then you took the public bus. You went to Mérida, and I love that video because I never been there.
Never been
honestly.
to Mérida?
Never. I lived 22 years in Venezuela and never been on Mérida. So watching the video and moving my iPad, it was like, damn, that's good.
No,
I like it.
Mérida is very different. Super, like the climate is obviously very different. People are like more reserved, I would say. And I don't know, the food is different over there too. Like, I don't know, like everything about that place is very different.
How about gochas?
Beautiful. Peligrosas.
Wow, okay. You have something. I'm not going to push you over there, but if you said that, you know why.
Yeah.
You know why.
I know all the stereotypes.
Yeah, you know the stereotype. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. How about the Christmas experience? Because you were there in Christmas. Hallacas,
Yeah, I went
ponche
to my
crema.
I went to my first ayacaso in Valencia.
How was it?
That is probably it's a close rival of a second favorite day, just because you get to really feel the culture in that day. It's like the entire family, extended family, friends, whoever it is, they all come together. Everyone has like a different role, making the ayacas.
Listening to music, drinking.
Yeah, it's like everyone's like has like something you need to do. And I remember I told them like I want to learn every single step. Like start me in the beginning, and I'm gonna do every single station until the last one because I want to learn how to make it like a full ayaca. So I sat down at the table, thinking that I'm gonna start like rolling out the masa.
Okay.
And they were like, no. You think you want to do it from the beginning? You go all the way to the other room, go wash the hojas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you start there, and then maybe you'll after that you'll get to come.
It was fun because I saw in the video some lady was saying, "Mira, lo está limpiando las hojas." It was pretty fun what I saw.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing day. It was an amazing day, and they even let me like mix. I did the last couple touches for the el guiso. So
okay, that's good.
I know what that means now. But in
Okay.
the moment I didn't.
You were like, but what is that? What that
Yeah,
means?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that video was so viral because people were like, hey, look this video. This guy made a freaking Christmas experience in Venezuela. And a lot of people were crying because I have 10 years outside of Venezuela without my family. I feel I was with my family down there. So basically, that's the feeling on people watching your videos.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't realize that in that moment. It's not like I knew anything about Venezuela before I went. I didn't know that, a lot of people have left the country. I didn't know any of that. Um, Obviously, I just went there. I was just sharing my own personal experience because that's what I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened to, resonate with an audience that I guess is like a bittersweet,
Mm-hmm.
feeling, because maybe you can't go back, but like, it's probably a very, very fond memory.
Yes.
So.
And you still took public buses, go to Petare, do like everything you need to do to understand the Venezuelan culture.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like the moto taxis. That's like
Okay.
the best way to get around in any country. Like, I don't understand, honestly, why we don't have them in the United States. Like, that should be a business venture that exists,
Okay.
because, like, so much faster, get rid of all the traffic, like, it makes way more sense. Obviously, it's way more dangerous, but, like, it's also cheaper. Like, I'm
Yeah,
broke
way
when I'm
cheaper.
traveling. Like, I don't have anything. So, like, I'll take the cheapest, fastest option, moto taxi.
Let's go.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I like to live the way the people live there. I don't like to do things like I don't like the special route, like I'll take the route that you take. Like, if you're going to walk from here to here, I'll walk from here to here. If you're going to take a bus from here to there, I'll take the bus. Like,
Correct.
if my friends live in Petare, I'll go to Petare.
Of
you
course.
know, like, it's not like I won't avoid anything just because, maybe one group of people doesn't normally do it. Like, all my friends in Caracas wouldn't go to Petare. I'll call my friends and be like, hey, like, they'd be like, where are you? Like, we'll come pick you up. And I'll be like, oh, I'm in La Bombilla. They'll be like,
Ooh.
nah, we're not coming over there to pick you up. You like, come down from the mountain and then we'll, I can pick you
I'll
up.
pick you up at the
Yeah.
metro station.
Yeah, La California, maybe.
I mean, that's nice because you show the country as it is. There's no any filters. There's no any soft stuff. Just like it is, as a beauty, as some poverty and stuff, but as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for people have the whole context on what is happening and how the people, like the citizens, live day to day over there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the most interesting thing. Like, for me, that's the most interesting part about traveling. It's also where I not just learn about other people, but you also learn a lot about yourself, especially when you do it alone, because you have nobody to like you can't speak English to somebody else to like try to figure out a situation. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's like you're in it. It's up to you. You either do it or you don't. No one knows you. No one has like any idea of who you are. It's really up to you to kind of like express yourself that you want to express yourself, and also kind of accept whatever is happening around you, obviously to whatever degree you're comfortable with. I just think that my level of comfort can be in like very extreme scenarios. I'm still like, okay, I'm here for the experience. Like, we'll see.
Yeah. And now you are at the United States, like doing a whole tour at the whole country, showing the experience. And you bought a 1999 van for travel all the country showing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so basically I did, I tested the idea of basically showing. So I took the 6-month experience in Venezuela, condensed it into like a half-hour virtual reality documentary, and then slowly, built up like an inventory of headsets. And, I showed it to people in Doral and I forgot where the other location was. That's kind of like where I first did it.
Okay.
And I kind of like proved to me that first of all, it's a cool concept, and also a lot of people want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I kind of put the idea out there, and then people were like, oh, come here, come to this city, come to this city, come to that city. And then like once I kind of like mapped out all the
Pictured
places
everything.
where like everybody was, I was like, okay, I can't fly to each city. Like, it's not going to make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, what's the most efficient way to get around? It's also like the cheapest, And I was like,
Yeah.
I should probably just drive. And I was like, if I'm going to drive, I, also didn't want to pay for like a place to stay every night because that would be, rack up pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I need a van that I can sleep in. So I went on Facebook Market, found the first camper van that I saw,
That's it.
bought that one, and I was like, all right, I'm hitting the road.
And 3 days later, you bought it, started shaking.
Yeah,
started the trouble.
I mean, it's a 1999 van. You
Yeah.
can imagine like it's been through some things.
Yeah, of course.
But it still moves. I mean, it's parked outside right now.
Yeah.
Everything. It's slowly been developing over time too.
Yeah. It was pretty fun because you posted a video that the guy who repaired said, you can drive to China. Let's go.
Yeah. That guy was a legend.
Yeah.
He was actually a legend. No, it's because once something breaks, I'm usually around a lot of Venezuelan people, so I just ask them and everyone's a mechanic. Like, someone knows how to
Definitely.
fix a car. So I usually ask them, and then they, I was introduced to this one mechanic, and he like took care of everything, like fixed everything up. I actually even showed him the VR experience at the mechanic shop. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I mean, he was awesome. He just kind of like, it was only like, I forgot what it was. It wasn't that big of an issue. He just kind of like swapped out some fire plugs or something. Like,
That's good. That's pretty good. So, and also that experience, that traveling the whole country in the camper van, could be a documentary showing your documentary. You know what I'm saying? Like record your experience, showing another experience for people.
Yeah, no, I've been doing that. Like I'm always recording. Even if I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with the footage, I'm always recording. I think that's how you create a proper documentary, is by not knowing what the story is about. Besides, just film everything and then you figure it out later. That's how I shot the film in Venezuela and all the countries before that. It's not like I wasn't shooting specific shots just to kind of tell a specific story, like I'm just filming my entire experience, and then afterwards I can put it together in a way that makes sense, whatever story that comes from that experience,
Correct. And when you have time, because you're really busy right now, you're going to edit what you did in Colombia, or you're going to take that from later on?
I think so. Originally, when I went to go travel alone, one of my goals was to show what it's like to go traveling alone, because I wanted to convince more younger people to go travel alone. And I was like, okay, the best way to do that is to just show them. And in order to show them, I was going to use virtual reality, so like they could kind of feel like they're traveling alone. And I think Colombia will be a part of that larger story, of like the entire 16 months. So Venezuela is the last 6 months of my trip. Before that, I was traveling for 10 months, starting in Belize, going through every country in Central America until I made it to Colombia. So I think it'll be a part of that overall story, because I don't have enough footage just to make a story about specifically Colombia.
So you can make Central America and Colombia.
Yeah, like the entire 16-month, I would probably make something in that vein.
Like for people have some context before your arrival to Venezuela.
Exactly. And to also, as I said, to convince younger people to go
That's
travel.
pretty cool.
Like, I think it's one of the best forms of education out there. You learn so much about other people, how they live, what they value. You learn a lot about what you value moving forward. It gives you just more perspective.
Absolutely. Well, Noa, thank you so much for being here. You're on Dallas. You have 3 days for show the experience on Dallas. You were before in Spring. You were before in Austin. You were before in Katy. How was the experience for the people down there?
I mean, I think everyone's, reaction's different depending on what your personal story is. If you grew up in Venezuela, you've lived there a long time, especially like the older generation that's like lived through the quote unquote like golden age. It can be a mixed feeling, because like you see, what it was like, and then you see what it's like now. So that can be its own, experience. If you're a kid who have like, parents that are Venezuelan, but like you grew up in the United States and you've never been, it's a completely different experience.
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, and like if you're, a complete foreigner that knows nothing about Venezuela, that's its own experience. So I think everyone has like their own way of taking it, which I enjoy. I think that's what, films should be about. It's like, it's not supposed to necessarily be, you're not supposed to have the same takeaway.
Correct.
Like it's supposed to be, this is just me sharing my own personal experience. And if there's something in there that you take away from it, incredible.
That's great. That's great. So, Noa, thank you so much for being here on our studio. Always, you deserve the best, because you did a great job, not only in Venezuela, in Guatemala, and everything you're going to do on the further. So thank you so much for being here. It was an honor to have you here, and have you live, too, on your Instagram, for your people know why are you on Dallas, why are you showing this experience, and your background, too. Because some people just see the videos, but don't know the story before that and behind that. So that's pretty cool to know. So thank you so much, Noa. I really appreciate your time here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Señoras y señores, muchas gracias por estar allí. Mi nombre es Edwin Preto Linares. Noa Iimura. Nos seguimos encontrando en otra oportunidad.